So you stumbled upon our podcast. I hope you got your lighter. Sup, I'm Lotta Locks, and this is my guest, Heather Dagley. Did I say that right?
Hi, you guys.
Now tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, first of all. I've been really looking forward to this. My name's Heather Dagley. I write and run a blog called Bud and Blossom, and it's about how people can utilize intentional cannabis use to live their very best life. So folks can find my blog at budandblossom.blog. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at bud_n_blossom. And the reason I took on this blog was I've used cannabis in many, many ways to help improve my life. And finally, I came to the realization, like, I need to share this with people. Some of the issues I've overcome through cannabis use are anxiety, grief, and even some corporate burnout. And these are issues that I see all around me. Everybody deals with these in some capacity at some point in their life. So I decided to jump into the cannabis industry with 2 feet, left my former job, started this blog, and yeah, never looked back. Now I'm also bud tending and managing operations at a dispensary here in Tacoma. So really excited to continue to expand my footprint in cannabis and just keep promoting this plant that I've grown to love so much.
That's great. Really awesome that like you really dove into it. It's hard getting into the cannabis industry out here. It's not as easy as some might think, like I'll just go out there and get a job. Like you might, but understand that the cost of living and the wages offered, it's like you literally need to be in the financial position or a hustler's mentality to make good money in that industry, because like many people have said here, there is no healthcare, there is no other stuff. So if you want that part of your life, it's coming out of your pocket. So you've got to be able to diversify what you're doing. So I love that, like you kind of just was like, oh, this is my passion, I'm going for it.
Yeah, and I am not someone that takes big risks typically, but you are so right. I knew that moving into cannabis, it wouldn't necessarily be a financially equal position for me. Prior to this, I worked for a chemical distribution company. So I was making good money there, ended up, becoming a customer service manager. But I just realized, like, this isn't what I'm here to do. I'm not here to sell chemicals. I'm here to share what is real. And I think I saw the signs that more and more our world is going to need a message of how to heal and how to self-soothe. So I decided that a pay cut, that was the reality, but that wasn't enough to deter me.
So what you smoking on over there?
Yeah, so I've got some Tropicana garlic, Virginia Co. I've been really liking their flower lately.
I dig Virginia Co. Their raspberry do-si-do is so bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, Virginia Co. is like, hats off to you.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lotta. I saw that strain in my store because we carry Virginia Co. And I was like, this is for me. I have like a raspberry obsession too. That's like one of my favorite foods. So I picked that up that day. Yeah.
Just glue it down, and it's a indica hybrid, indica dominant hybrid, I think, or indica, but it's very relaxing in the best way. Right now I'm smoking some Wi-Fi OG, which
nice.
I got in heavy amounts. It's honestly nothing consistent that I can say that I smoke the same every day, but I got a lot of this because it was a good day high. Being that I'm home more, I have to be more productive, but I also now can like deal with my midday stress with cannabis appropriately, because I couldn't do that with working in my working environment, but now I can. And I'm like, oh, I'm so much happier throughout the whole day. Like I thought it was maybe that I just get tired or like the world gets aggravating. It's just like my tolerance for it is diminished because my cannabis is worn off. Like that's the simple answer to it. But yeah, so I'm also gonna finish up while we're talking today. This is 100 milligram THC Major is the company, and it's their Sunset Pink Lemonade cannabis infused fruit drink. So
those are bomb.
Yeah, it's actually pretty tasty for an infused anything. Because I'm usually disappointed and like, oh, yep, that's weed.
It tastes good.
Yeah, so I enjoy it. How has weed helped you recently?
Oh, wow. Good question. I think weed has kind of helped me look at the current situation. Obviously, we're going through a moment right now of coronavirus, and it's changed everything. It's changed things in our personal lives. It's changed things in our communities. It's changing things in our nation and beyond that. So cannabis use kind of allows me to look at that stark reality and accept it with, or like go into it with two eyes open. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
like
sure.
It helps me be hyper aware of what's going on. And even though that's like a really big topic and could be concerning, it also keeps me calm as I'm looking through all that. And it kind of helps me remember, like, you got chops, you got skills, like no matter what comes your way, you are strong enough to take on what's coming. So I feel like it's my superpower sometimes.
Oh, seriously. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good, great. I switched to my headset just because I wanted to give you better audio and maybe eliminate some of that background noise. But I would totally agree with that, because I've received various amounts of messages from my friends across the nation, just like concerned because, you know, first place was Washington and everyone was freaking out. Like, how are you doing? Like, I was in a war and I was like, I'm pretty cool. It opened my eyes up to what working from home could mean for my future and something that I am interested in. Like, I want full control over my own schedule. Honestly, like, I need cannabis all day long to just deal like I do. Like, being strain specific with what I'm smoking and conscious with what I have to do during the day, because yes, I am a functional pothead, but yeah, no, like, I need my daily doses, and it allows me to kind of like disengage from the negative, you know, like, because there are friends that was like freaking out and jumping off the deep end, and I'm like, yes, it is heavy, but and you can deal with it however you need to, but that's not the way I'm going to deal with it. And honestly, you're just telling me that I can do what I love to do, which is be in my house and hold on to my weed and my dogs.
Your besties.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me, I'm going to see this as a positive break from the humdrum of being busy. I'm just going to take this time, do what I need to do. So
yeah, we were talking about it just a little bit before we started recording too, but yeah, some people are really leaning into the hustle. Like, and I would love to step out of this quarantine time with like a novel under my belt, like,
yeah,
book to promote. But I also think it's important that we give ourselves the grace right now to just chill. That is what the universe, I think, is telling us, among other things. But now is the time to like really reflect and chill. And yeah, cannabis is such a good supplement to that sentiment. So it's good stuff for people like us who have already, incorporated cannabis into our lives. And so that's one of my goals, like maybe especially during this time, is reach out to people who aren't as familiar with cannabis and tell them, like, this might actually help you because this is a difficult moment and we all need a little bit of extra oomph right now. And here's how I find mine.
That's great. That's awesome to reach out to those. I agree with everything that I did, and like when I got, because I ended up traveling right in like early April.
Oh wow!
And I went back to Florida, which is my home base, and I was just like, y'all better stock up, get it together.
Yeah.
So you can like buckle down and just hang out. So, like you're going to need this.
Yeah.
Because it was like the wave of information just was so slow. The reaction times of all of the United States, period. But like states, it was just like slowly spreading. And Florida was like the last to know, like, oh, we got to lock down. Like, that's what you want us to do? No, but it's spring break down here. We're having fun. And I was like, guys, everything's about to shut down. I'm hoping I can get out of the state when I need to, but prepare yourselves. And that's just kind of like all I messaged to my friends and family there, and help them get ready before I left.
They're lucky they have you. I mean, it's hard to be that messenger sometimes, like Debbie Downer, like things are about to get real, but at the same time, like you want your friends and family to know the truth and be able to take steps to protect themselves. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Have you stocked up on a lot of cannabis, like yourself?
Yes and no. Like, I would say I've definitely smoked at least 3 ounces since I've been locked up. So yeah, I stock up, but I go through it. But basically, I try to, with my job, I'm only commuting like 1 day a week. Like I'm only going in. And so on that day, I get groceries and I get weed. So, and then however long of a stretch I need until the next day I physically have to leave my house to go to my job is the amount of weed I tried to obtain and to get me through that schedule. And then my roommate, thankfully I have those, but like our schedules aren't the same and she's basically required to go in every day. So she comes home with weed too. We kind of just, you know, like, oh, you got some? I got some. Okay, cool. Good. So, yeah. But I also don't want to be that one person that comes in and buys a joint every, like, 3 hours. Stop doing that during this time. Please just buy, like, if an eighth will last you a week, buy an eighth. Right. Spend a little bit of money difference and get what you need. Right.
And there are a lot of customers who that is their typical buying pattern. Like you said, they'll come in like twice or 3 times a day to get a joint. And under normal circumstances, like, great. Do you know, maybe that's how people like ration a little bit and it makes sense economically. But right now, it's important to limit exposure to outside. So do stock up. Sometimes dispensaries have really killer deals too if you buy in bulk. So just pay attention to deals and take care of yourself. But stay high.
Exactly. I don't know how just buying 3 joints a day at potentially like $4 to $5 a pop is saving you more money than spending $15 on an eighth that you could probably get if you went on the discount day or if you were paying attention, you know, like, honestly, I mean, 15 for an eighth is like sort of, you've got to get the good discount, but you could find it out there, folks. So just, you know, do what you can to minimize everyone's risk. And I understand, I mean, like, I shared my personal views online about this whole situation, and I don't think that has anything to do with you doing what you can during this time. You know what I mean? Like, I have complicated views on basically the world is healthier. Let's just say that the world itself, like the earth, is way too happy. I've been being woken up by birds chirping and just like they're out in nature, and I'm like, huh, look at you, this is what you wanted a break. I get it now.
It's good. And even like if you look at it, animals in our homes right now seem really, really happy too. Like I'm sure your dogs are stoked that you're home more.
All the time.
My cat is jiving. Like animals in nature are telling us like 2 thumbs up, guys. Not really sure what's going on, but it feels good.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, being a vet tech, I listen to Mother Nature heavily. Yeah. And so if the birds and the bees are happy, then we must be doing something right. And I hope that like people will take this time as a lesson, you know, like you are interested in talking about, like it for some there is grief attached because there's like so many people that are being lost and relatives that they can't put the rest the way they would, you know, they can't deal with it the way they normally would. But there's a time for internal reflection, and this is it. And I'm hoping that people will understand that and continue to do that even after we've been given our freedom.
Absolutely. You're so right. Yeah. And tuning into nature, I think that your approach there it's so key. Like humanity has done a lot of beautiful, amazing things. Look at the stuff we've accomplished, but we have taken ourselves pretty far from nature, and it's good for us to tune into that a little bit. And that's one of the things I love about cannabis. It kind of slows you down so you can smell the roses or listen to the birds and the bees. Like it helps you connect.
Best thing on a hike.
Yeah.
Like just like you spark one before you go and you start walking and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so like, and then you start looking around and you're like, oh, it's so nice out here. It's so pretty out here.
Right.
Did you see that over there? And then all of a sudden you're at the top and you're like, this is amazing. Like I did it. I walked for however long it took me to walk up this thing, and I'm happy about it. So,
I'm gonna take a hike when this is all done. That sounds magical.
Oh, like, for sure.
And smoke and the whole nine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm with it all the way. I know with your experience and stuff, wanted to talk about grief. Do you want to just dive on into it and talk to me a little bit? Because I understand.
So one thing that I wanted to share with people is I know that we're all going through levels of grief right now. And like Lotta, grief is something that I understand. So several years ago, over 4 years ago now, my best friend from childhood passed away unexpectedly of an opioid overdose. And, you know, I say unexpectedly because that's how sudden overdose deaths, that's how we experienced them. But obviously she had been sick and struggling with addictions for some time. But that day that she passed and the months afterward, my whole life changed. I think I became a different person. I'm a different Heather now than I was before that experience. And I did use cannabis to help me move through that period. And it was the most difficult period in my life. It helped me to really look at the new situation that I was going to live the rest of my life without my friend and fully feel it and fully understand it. And yet it took a lot of the fear. I would hyperventilate sometimes just thinking about the fact that I'd never see her again. But cannabis would help me really understand my new reality without that prickly feeling, without that overwhelm that we feel when we lose someone. And so not everybody is losing someone right now, but people are losing loved ones, especially on the East Coast. But we need to be cautious and careful as that virus continues to spread around the country. And even if people aren't losing loved ones, they might be thinking about the fact that they're losing loved ones. So we're all going through that moment of picturing what our life might look like without our parents or friends. I find myself just thinking about how much I love the people in my life and how devastated I'll be if I lose them, because I've already gone through that and it's just so hard. So I just want people to know that as they go through these difficult feelings, cannabis may be a substance and a supplement to help go through that. It can help us also find gratitude in difficult times. And I know that sounds crazy to talk about gratitude when we're going through a tough moment collectively, but I think gratitude is so key right now. It's going to keep you positive. It's going to keep you focused on the decisions that are going to be right for you and your family. And that positive thinking can even protect your immune system. You know, there's so much that goes into it. So if you are going through those moments of pain, I just want to give you that permission. Whether you've experienced cannabis or not, it might be something that works for you. It certainly worked for me. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to share more about my experience as well.
Oh, for sure. I think, thank you for sharing, one. But I've been there. I think that's how we bonded and met. Like, I definitely lost a friend as a result of, you know, a long period of his life being addicted to drugs that your body really can't handle. And I've always been an avid weed smoker, but like I find myself, I don't know, like I even want to tear up now just even thinking of him in that image. But with cannabis, like I definitely was able to look at what his life taught me to take that motivation and kind of push it into the business that I created and what I was doing, because we used to have the most amazing conversations and they were brief, but like he that gratitude that you talk about embodying, I never saw this man without a smile. Even if there were things going wrong, I never saw him without a smile. And the last time we talked, he was saying like, oh, it's going to be our birthday month, April. It's our birthday month and we're going to have a blast. I'm going to come out there. We're going to celebrate. We should do something together. It's going to be great. And I couldn't wait for that moment. And then I took a breath like, okay, like that moment will never happen. And I definitely cried about it and I smoked lots of cannabis about it. But through cannabis, I was able to just like process what that loss meant to me and use it to push me, you know? So I am all on board. And my mom is in the age group And like I said, I saw her in early April, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to hug you.
Yeah.
And I've never, that's not something that we don't do. Like, she just stared at me for 2 seconds. I thought her head spun around, and I was like, I don't know if we should hug. And she's like, I don't care. I haven't seen you in like 6 months. You hug me, you know, you're my child, and I'll wash my hands and we'll be clean. And and she's a nurse, so, lots of exposure potential there, doing what I can to help her, but I just like made it something where I check in. This is the closest I've been to probably my actual family unit in a long time, because we talk every single day. They're back in the Cayman Islands, and we have a group chat. My mom's in Florida, and I'm way out here in Washington, and it's just like every day I talk to them. I know every single one of them, what they're doing, and I couldn't, before this situation, I couldn't put a finger on that, you know, except for my mom, who, yes, I talk to her every single day. Otherwise, she thinks something is wrong. But so I am like, when you talk about flipping your mindset, it's exactly what I had to do with the situation, because I was frustrated, and I was like, now I'm working from home. And like, there's no point to this. We could just not work and whatever. Like, I was just frustrated by my work at home situation while it was being figured out, because everyone was thrown for a loop. And then I stopped and was like, you have a job.
Right.
Like,
there's a lot to be thankful for, even in tough times. Yeah.
Yeah. And once like, and I think that happened, I literally lit a joint and was like, you have a job. Stop tripping.
Right. It helps take that perspective and kind of reshuffle it in the way that you need. Like, one concept that I'm really a fan of is like, the plant tells you what you need to hear. And that's often applied to like psychedelic advocacy and things like that. But I think it also applies to cannabis. Like, and some people complain about paranoia, and I get it. But I mean, like, when it comes to paranoia, I think, again, maybe the plant is showing you something that you need to see. Maybe it's trying to open your eyes up to something that you are in denial about or otherwise blind to. It allows you to think that elevated thought and actually see the reality of what is happening. So I think it's such a tool. And one thing I want to call out, like, I think when I talk about cannabis for grief a lot, people on the surface might be like, oh, she's just substituting, you know, one thing for another. In my personal story, for example, at first, after my friend died, I did all the wrong things. I drank too much. You know, I just fell into a pit of despair. I was at the point where I couldn't even talk about her without literally like falling to pieces. So I couldn't even think about her. But then I dropped the alcohol and I used cannabis instead. And it was a totally different experience. Alcohol allows you to, it doesn't solve a thing. Sure, in the moment, you're not like dealing with the pain. So it is a form of escapism, but you wake up in the morning and you're no closer to healing than you were the day before. But with cannabis, it's almost the opposite. It doesn't allow you to escape a thing. Like I said, it just opens your eyes to what is really happening. And then I think it arms you with the tools that you need to take the step forward. Yeah. So one thing I want to share is, there's a quote that I have on the homepage of my blog, and I've left it there since I started it because it really speaks to me. So Miss Bliss, she runs some cannabis, like almost like a camp style event in California. So that sounds like a really fun event, something I'd like to tune into after all this goes back to normal. But she says cannabis is like a mirror in that she will show you your true self and hold your hand as you fix yourself. So cannabis is going to allow you to tune into who you are and then help you take the steps to actually improve your life.
I would agree 110, maybe 20, 200% if you wanted to go there with that, because my goodness, that's what I was saying. Like, honestly, if I need to fix my mood or if I need to understand my mood, which is most of the time, right? It's not fixing it. I need to understand why I'm upset. I'll roll up a joint and I push play on some music and I just sit there. And it literally lets me like, all right, so you're frustrated. Well, why are you frustrated? Okay. Well, what about that situation? Like, why did you think anger was the best response to this, even though you were upset? Okay. What are the steps you're going to take to communicate otherwise?
Right.
Okay. What about the other person's perspective? Because yeah, these are all your feelings, but the reality is still the reality. Like how you feel in your emotional state, you know, like, so it just like, I'm able to peel back these layers where, without cannabis, I feel like there's so much noise and, distance, from why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and how I'm feeling. And that makes me act, or I choose to end up acting on how I'm feeling.
Right.
And not the why. And I don't know, just, I love weed.
So great. And I think these conversations are really important, like when we can articulate how we use cannabis as a tool and why exactly it does improve our lives. And not to say there's anything wrong with just smoking mindlessly. Like I do that sometimes too, but that's a conscious decision. But when you apply cannabis like really intentionally and really mindfully at the issues in your life, like, yeah, it's a game changer. And like you said, Lotta, like it can take that ego. Like we all have an ego. Some of us have bigger egos than others, right?
Yes, yeah.
But it's really important to be able to dissociate from ego once in a while, because we build these stories, and they may not even be factual stories, but we built them in our mind and then we just live with them.
I'm right. This is the way it is because I saw this and I saw this and I saw this. Yeah, but you didn't know all of these other things.
Right. Yeah. So it drives accountability. And what you were saying kind of reminds me of that. Like, it sounds like it's making you accountable to, okay, what was that person's reaction and what do I think about that? But also, how can I take the onus to do it differently next time? Like, you learning from it. That's just so amazing. Yeah.
For sure. Well, a couple of things. Once this COVID-19 stuff really popped up and companies switched, I saw like different conversations about how CBD is antiviral, and it was, you know, going to aid in assistance of kind of for the hand sanitizer shortage, I believe. So, however, do you know about normal.org?
Yeah, I like to follow Normal. I think they're
love them. Yeah. It's so informative, and they're pretty much like, yeah, we're sticking it to the man. We are lobbying for you, like kind of group. And I think that's one comical, but what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing professionalism to cannabis is so important too. And I feel like they deliver that all day.
100% with everything that they do. So they did a review. So there's no real clinical evidence to support CBD as an antiviral agent in this situation. So I guess researchers from Italy and the United Kingdom performed a systematic review of papers just to see if the application of CBD would help treat viral diseases. And what they found out that in like really limited situations, or conditions, it could help. Which means it's to me, that was like a nada, you know?
Right.
But to the average consumer that may have came across social media that where the person just, you know, spouted off and said, yeah, it has some antiviral properties. They're going to go out and try to make their own hand sanitizer combination with CBD products, or companies switching towards that avenue. I feel that this is clutter. It's clutter from the real message that people like you and I and so many others are working so hard to get out there into mainstream conversations, because crap like this is what's going to get picked up in the most popular. Oh, CBD is now doing this. No.
Right. I think you bring up a really good point. And it's cool to see innovation, right? I love that the cannabis industry is ready to innovate, and they're trying to somersault and come out with products that are going to be particularly important during this time. But yeah, I think we need to be careful. And I think companies, when they're making claims, and I'll acknowledge that scientific research on cannabis is nowhere where it should be. The Schedule 1% has prevented us from really having a deep understanding of this plant, and yet we're able to operate with it. But yeah, they need to be really careful about what they say. Even as someone that's active in the cannabis space, I think, any of us should be careful about what we say right now. Health is the name of the game. And if we're not 100% sure on something, like, we need to just be cautious, and I'm not a medical professional, but I can share my anecdotal experiences. And so I think I need to err on the side of focusing on, this is my experience, and you make the decision for yourself. But for a consumer that doesn't know better, maybe they're going to believe that this is antiviral and the only defense against coronavirus that they need, when that might not be the case. So we need to keep ourselves very on a higher positive energy in this industry, and we all need to hold each other accountable to being as factual as possible. We don't want to take any steps back right now. This could be a good moment for the cannabis industry. So lead with integrity, lead with honesty, and that should always be your compass.
You are so right. And I feel like that speaks to the two sides of individuals in the cannabis industry. There's the corporate, they're in this for I would say a financial gain and profit. And then there are people that not only see the medicinal purposes, use the medicinal purposes, but really understand what positivity and peace can be brought with the cannabis industry becoming federally legal and popular and mainstream, and are trying to push that message. And it's you would have to be an individual to be open to the concept of, I don't know, metaphysicality, you know what I mean? You would have to be open to the idea that there's energy in everything that you do, and your thoughts have power and weight. And once you combine that with the use of cannabis, I feel like you're unstoppable. So we've got to find a way to come together, because the cannabis industry needs a corporate business structure to be successful in the United States.
Right. So how do we balance that?
But the corporate structure is sick. It's really, really sick. And cannabis can heal that. And so many of us believe it. But everyone has to be open to that concept and that thought. And I feel like that should be the message and push going forward, if we really want it to get where we need it to be.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And you gotta have both. You gotta have a mechanism for selling cannabis and the structures around that, but you gotta make sure it's around health and people first. And so I think every business owner right now out there, especially larger cannabis companies, smoke a joint. Think really hard about why you're in the business you are. Think about the people that you employ and what you're doing to take care of them. Think about your end customer and just really reflect. You've got a tool that the other CEOs maybe don't have, and that's cannabis. So use it, and let's take those learnings and apply it to make sure that this is the most compassionate industry out there, because I think that's what cannabis should stand for. And we've got some tweaks to do before it really does, but got to take steps in the right direction.
You're right. On the last episode, we chatted about whether or not the cannabis industry was recession proof. And literally a week ago, this is how quickly things are changing. So a week ago, most people were like, potentially it is. And as of 7 days later, 3 of the major multi-state marijuana operators, MedMen, 4Front Ventures, or MedMen Enterprises, and Acreage Holdings all said they were cutting back to stay on track, basically to stay profitable as an organization. They're cutting back. Well, what do you mean when you're cutting back? To some people, they're like, oh, they're just losing a few assets or whatever. That's people that work for them. Those are the assets. They're not just stopping growing, and you know what I mean? All of the people that they employ. So it's not recession proof.
No, I think we need to, if we think that, and I have heard some business owners, I've been doing some virtual meetings and things around cannabis. I've heard some business owners even deny that there's going to be supply chain shortages, right? And, I hope there's not supply chain shortages, but we need to look at, this is a global moment. Every industry is going to have supply chain shortages. So it's time to take off any rose-colored glasses, and we need to analyze this situation and make sure at the end of the day, we still have a booming cannabis industry. So I think one thing though that is positive in all that, and this is another point I heard a colleague share this week, is luckily cannabis individuals are agile. Like the crazy like laws and like the whole framework of laws across the states has been insanity. Or I say that, I should say it's been complex at the very least, right? And so people have had to bob and weave for years now. So we just need to continue to bob and weave, maintain that agility, focus on your business. Like I said, focus on workers and the end customer, and do what you can to be dynamic and get through this. But yeah, it's going to be tough times.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And honestly, I say that with sort of feeling like, not for the people that lost their jobs or no longer will be employed by these individuals, but from the other side, the holistic and the plant-loving side of cannabis, these are not the good people in the industry. So to us, it's an opportunity for like small farms and, you know, family farms and small batch growers to shine, to you know, potentially get on a platform, you know. So I don't know. I think this could be positive because these are individuals that are in Florida, I know of, and from what I've seen online of the people, the consumers of cannabis, not happy.
So what's going on down there?
Well, corruption, like the usual that happens with Florida government and just about any industry. They sell out to the corporations that promise the state the most money, leaving the little man screwed, slow down in medical license issuing, but they did rectify that recently with allowing people to renew online and just to help with the COVID-19. So they are responding. But yeah, overall, like the MedMen isn't from Florida. That's not a local growth. That's not a Florida state company.
No. Yeah.
And they're, I think True Leave, not only are they getting taxed, these medicinal customers, on the cost of like the product that they're getting, but they're getting product. Right. Or yeah. So I've heard. So in some places have good CBD product and it's up and coming, but when we're talking about medicinal cannabis and access to the amount of people in the state that use cannabis, until they rectify what they're doing, they're always going to have to fight the black market.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think this situation calls for a lot of things. It shows us the error in having this very spread, you know, state by state approach. It means that like the federal government can't even ensure that people have access to cannabis right now. It's too fragmented. And there are markets where people are running low on cannabis. I know in New Jersey, there's like supply shortages. Can you imagine what that means for a patient? And I think it's like here in Washington, it shows that we really should have home grow, right? Like people are having to now put themselves at risk to go out and supply their cannabis. What if they had it in their basement all along? And I know that that we have like the card program and everything. If people are medically, if they have a medical reason, they can grow, but some people don't like being on that registrar. So it's like, we just need to
for many reasons, but the main one is it's still illegal.
Yeah.
And that puts me at risk.
Yeah, exactly. So we've just got to like tweak these nonsense red tape laws that prevent people from getting what they need. And yeah, I think all of this is a big shakeup, and hopefully what we see is that integrity portion of cannabis lifting up, and like the crust that we don't like, it just kind of falls to the wayside. Workers' rights is becoming a big thing, people first, and I think that's going to be the same approach in cannabis.
I do agree. Well, I have a segment on this show called Light Up and Listen, and it's because music is therapy for my soul. But honestly, I really only hear the music when I'm smoking cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's a dual experience, and that's why the segment Light Up and Listen was developed. So have you been listening to anything awesome during this quarantine time?
I have, yeah. And I love how you tie music into cannabis use. I agree. Like, it's so beautiful when compared together. Throughout my day, like throughout the workday, I've been listening to some upbeat, like hip hop. So Childish Gambino and Black Bear, just to kind of like get me going a little bit and makes me feel a little punchy in the morning. But another thing I've been doing, and I'm actually going to write a blog post about this soon, because I think this is a method that people could apply to their own lives, but I've been getting high, like taking a few edibles and then listening to music from high school. And it's just been so fun, like letting that wash of emotions hit me. Like Lil Wayne and the Strokes, like I'm sitting there crying in my kitchen because it just brings me back to like hitting blunts and driving around town when I was like younger. And
so carefree. Yeah. So carefree, yeah. I have actually mixed CDs that I've gotten, like I had made for me from like 6th grade. So I literally just like push play and go back, you know? Like I don't have to search for it too much. And it is a crazy experience. I'm sick and tired of promises, you know, 3LW and like old, like Mariah Carey. And,
the best.
Luda. Well, I did play a little bit for you earlier, but Thundercat recently dropped an album, and I hope that is his gender pronoun, but I think it is. But amazing artist, and I don't know if you got a taste for it. It's like a little bit jazzy, yeah. A little bit. It's so musical, and I enjoyed at least 2 blunts for that album.
I can't wait to listen more. I'll take the same approach, blunt and then Thundercat.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then yesterday, Friday and Saturday, there's been so much music thanks to this quarantine, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with being home as long as I can blast music, because I'm so free. You know, like I can go on their journey with them, with wherever they want to take me. But a local Florida artist, La the Goat, he dropped a mixtape, and it's called A Mixtape Until the Album Done. And that's such a Florida it's such a Florida title, like, this is what you get until this album is done, okay?
Nice.
And like he posted it last night, and I had some trouble sleeping, and it was great because I was able to get some work done while listening to it. But his caption was so real. He's like, all right, so it's on iTunes, and it's Lil Baby or basically he forgot the login to his distribution page, so he couldn't post it on any of his own music sites. Like, you know, like he couldn't get it under his own name on iTunes. So he talked to his friend, and his friend let him post his album on his page. So you just got to look up a different artist, but that's my album. And I thought, like, I laughed for at least like 20 minutes because of that. And I was like, whatever it is, whatever it sounds like, which is street rap, but whatever it sounds like, I know that, like, I'm going to support you going forward because you're so honest.
So real.
Yeah.
Real is so good.
And then Frank Ocean knew the world was just like waiting on him. He dropped 2 new tracks.
Yeah.
And they're both part A or side A. One's Cayendo, and I can't remember the other title, but Cayendo's in Spanish. Frank, you're singing to me in Spanish?
Ooh, sexy.
Right? So I was very happy with those 3 things that came out over this week. And I don't know if you got an opportunity to catch on Instagram Live. Full Crate is a DJ, producer, artist, I don't know. But he has something called Bedroom Sessions. And I don't know if he's going to decide to do a number 3, but I implore you all to check it out, because the most fun for like 3 hours that I had in my house, just dancing in my bedroom, because his album was so amazing. So, or his mix. And he doesn't, you know, it only stays for 24 hours. So, you either tune in or the next day you will want to do it.
Awesome. I can't wait to check him out.
Well, it's dope that you took the time to have a jig with us. Until the next session, remember, we are just two functional potheads out here trying to bring the light and truth about cannabis. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Stay baked.